or he gets used to it, he may become a really hard throwing sinker kind of guy, or they may change him around to four seamers where he starts missing, throwing the ball by guys. So, I think that Graterol is an intriguing guy. The one thing I not worry about him. He's going to get there, I think, as a starter if they want him to do that. And the way he's going to get there is because he's got a good breaking ball and a good changeup to go with with that big fastball. But he's not, much like Romero, he's not totally in command. Excuse me, of those other two pitches. When he is in command of them, they're really good. And I mean, it's not like it's a work in progress in terms of getting the kind of movement that you want on either pitch. And I mean, he's got three good pitches, which is what you need to pitch as a starter. It's just a question of, does he come to spring training and break camp throwing all three pitches where he wants to throw them? If he does that, he'll be your third starter.
Yeah, and that would be huge. Right? And we know the perils of counting on young pitching, but God, I think he's almost as good a bet as a lot of the people you might get in free agency at a reasonable price. So it's going to be fascinating. Let's get into a couple of players who won't be back here. C.J. Cron and Trevor Hildenberger. Do want to thank Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund. Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent. He's my State Farm agent. He also handles Michael Russo's account.
Hi, TALKNORTH listeners. I wanted to let you all know about State Farm's new Quotes for Good program. We partner with local nonprofits to raise money for great causes. For the Roy Smalley Show, I will be donating $10 to pitch in for baseball and softball. This provides baseball and softball equipment for kids in need. Be sure to mention the show when you reach out to us so that we can track the donations. You can reach us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at champlininsurance.com.
So I view the C.J. Cron non-tender as largely being that you have a bunch of good hitters coming up through the system. Some of them might arrive this next year, but more than anything else, his thumb was problematic all year last year, and you just don't know how healthy he's going to be next year.
Don't know how healthy he's going to be, and he's was going to make, by all reports, they thought, an arbitration kind of number would be $8 million. Again, if they're trying to get pitching, they gotta be smart all over the roster with how much they're paying people, and for $8 million is there to save $8 million, some greater proportion of $8 million can someone else fill in adequately at first base? We still don't know. We still don't know what's there potentially. Sano moving to first base. I kind of hate to see that this early in that young man's career, but it's a possibility. They've got people coming up, as you mentioned, guys that can swing the bat. So that doesn't really surprise me. I really like C.J. Cron. I thought he had just a terrific clutch first half of the season, but you just don't know what you're going to get for $8 million, or based on the surgery to his thumb. I mean, it doesn't mean that necessarily, I guess, that the Twins won't get him back. They just didn't tender him. We'll see if he signs, who he signs with now.
Right. And I also thought that not only did he look really good as a hitter and a clutch hitter when he was healthy, but he also played a really nice first base most of the year.
He did play well at first base, and that was something that I didn't know about him. It wasn't just good. There were a handful of times when it was kind of clangy over there. It's like, okay, he just flat missed that ball. How'd that happen? That's throw. He just didn't catch it. And you look at that by itself and you say, God, this guy is a Dr. Strangelove over there. But those were only a handful of times, far, far outweighed by some of the really fantastic plays that he made, and some of the picks he made to save guys, save pitchers having to infielders errors and pitchers having to throw more pitches and he got the Twins out of a lot of innings picking throws out of the dirt. I thought he was excellent, but just way better than just good over there. He was really good.
Yeah, and with Trevor Hildenberger, he really helped this team a lot when he was on. When he was off, he was just extremely hittable. I really like the way the guy carried himself. The kind of teammate he was, the kind of worker he was. He's a very smart pitcher. Do you see some hope for him, or was he kind of a one-trick pony who got exposed?
I'm leaning toward the latter, quite frankly, only because of what I saw when he started to become ineffective. Guys were not being fooled as badly by the changeup, whether they were. I mean, that's his best pitch. He had great, not just good. He had great arm action from the side on a changeup. The hitters just never seen that before. You don't see a guy throwing, down, from where his release point was and have that much of a floppy changeup. I mean, it was really good, and that's what got him through. And then he could throw, because he was throwing strikes with his other stuff, he was effective. All of a sudden, even though he only threw 89 miles an hour, when you've got that kind of changeup and you're throwing from the side, 89 becomes 94 or 5 when guys are really confused about maybe the changeup's coming. They had a hard time seeing the difference between fastball and changeup for a while. But two things seemed to happen. Hitters started sitting on changeups, forced him. I think he lost confidence a little bit because of that. I mean, that's his bread and butter, and all of a sudden it was getting knocked around a little bit. And then he had to go to his other pitches, and he just wasn't commanding them very well. He'd get behind and throw the ball down the middle, either with a slider or a fastball, and that would get hit. And excuse me, it just kind of goes to show if you don't have a lot of fastball, I mean, you really have to be great at two other pitches with command, and he just kind of lost that. And I think it's possible for him to pitch well again, but I think it's going to be difficult.
Yeah. We could sit here and talk about possible free agency all day, but one thing that we've gotten away from, just because it was such a compelling Twin season and there's been so much news, we kind of got away from our pop culture conversations. I just want to take a couple minutes here and catch up on some stuff. I will start by saying that I saw my wife and I went out to Seattle for the Vikings game, took kind of a mini vacation around the game, and I ended up watching some movies on planes and other things. I saw two movies that I want to review for you here very briefly. First was Ad Astra. It was the Brad Pitt movie, kind of the space exploration movie. One of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Unwatchable. If I hadn't been on a plane, I wouldn't have even gotten through it. Horrible. Just nothing to. Just there's nothing to it to recommend it. Amazing. Because it was Brad Pitt, I thought it'd be pretty good. It was, and also Tommy Lee Jones, one of my favorite actors. Horrible. The other one, The Irishman. My wife and I watched that the other day, and I'm a big Scorsese fan, of course. I thought it was interesting to me because I'm a history buff and because I've read so much about the Kennedy assassination and because I'm fascinated by Jimmy Hoffa and all kinds of other things. And you're getting to watch great actors, incredible cast go through the motions. I thought it was worthwhile, but I can't highly recommend it because it moved so slowly. And well, that's the thing. And
it moves. I watched it. My wife and I watched it at home the other night also. And not only to move slowly, it moved slowly for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it never picked up pace.
It was, and we had no idea. We came home from doing something, decided we'd see what was on. We decided to rent the Irishman and had no idea it was that at 1:45 we were still going to be watching it. It was like, I'm a Pacino fan. I think Pacino's fantastic. I think in everything he does. I think he brings in roles that are really good. He's exceptional in roles that are, kind of, not quite so good. It's almost like he overdoes them to the point where you like it. You like it. I just like Pacino so much. So that I liked his portrayal of Jimmy Hoffa an awful lot. But by 11:30, by 1:45, I got up and said, "Okay, I'm out." they kill him and they don't know where his body is. Okay, I know the end. You're not telling me anything I don't know here. You know, for 3.5 hours later, I mean, it was interesting. You know, to see, it was kind of, what I liked about it was, my wife said, you know, like, gosh, it was just like Goodfellas and Casino and the other De Niro one, and I mean, it was just like all those and the Godfather and all these they just rolled all that into one movie, and it took 3.5 hours. And I said, well, the difference is, you know, this stuff, you know, reportedly actually happened. This is based on a book, and the guy wrote it, and he was the killer, and so, you know, other than fiction, I mean, when you look at that kind of stuff going on, and it really happened, or supposedly really happened, or something very close to it, you know, undoubtedly happened. That was pretty fascinating for me, and that held me for the normal. Okay, 2 hours, I'm you know, I'm good, but you know, at 11:30, I was like, after 3 hours of it, I got no, I know the end. And this is it for me. That's the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was telling my wife has not seen Godfather 1, or Goodfellas. I told her, well, if you could tolerate this, you would love those, because Goodfellas is just brilliantly paced, and every 5 seconds there's something interesting happen, and it's you know, it's based on a true story, but in a way that really kind of, you know, elevates that genre. Godfather is fantastic. Godfather 2 might be the greatest mob movie ever made. So yeah, that's what I'll tell anybody out there. If you watch The Irishman and weren't completely turned off, go see some of Scorsese's better works.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And let's wrap up the show. What are you listening to these days? You got anything new to recommend?
You know, I don't have anything. Well, I've got a couple of things. I'm gonna save them only because I mentioned, gosh, a while back during the season, we recorded this show from a room at Target Field before a ball game one day, and I just rambled on a whole list of this bluesy, jazzy, rocky list that I made. That's my favorite list of music that I made in a long time, and I listen to it all the time. But I'm just going to go, you know, one song at a time from that list here for a while, and reiterate to people, because there's so much good music there, and artists that you can say, okay, I love this song. Let me go hear some more of that kind of stuff from this artist. But there's a group called The Rides. They're not together anymore, but The Rides are Kenny Wayne Shepherd and Stephen Stills, and Brian Ken's first name, Goldberg's his last name, a great bluesy, jazzy organ and keyboard player, and they do a cover of Gladys Knight's "Really Got to Use My Imagination," and it is, I could listen to it once an hour all day long. I mean, the guitar playing, the organ playing, I mean, they all three of them get their little riffs and their little chance to dazzle you, and it's you know, it's Kenny Wayne Shepherd's, you know, hard driving stuff, and then it's Goldberg's organ. It's really cool and kind of funky, and then Stills finishes up with his deal, and I think people know how much I like Stephen Stills. That it's, you know, who'd have thought that those guys would get together and do music, and boy, is it well worth it.
Yeah, I got kind of lost in a YouTube wormhole the other day, and I ended up watching some Joe Bonamassa, and he basically did a blues cruise. Joe Bonamassa, for those who don't know, just amazing guitar player. And I mean, just phenomenal blues-based, rock-based guitar player. And he did a cruise basically with and Kenny Wayne Shepherd was one of his guitarists on the thing, and it's just fantastic seeing these people trade licks. And there are about 5 great blues guitarists on stage, and just watching them trade licks is fantastic. The other things I'm going to mention today, and you and I will both expand our list as the winter goes on. My band plays covers. And we play some obvious covers that you have to play when you go play in a bar because people want to dance to them, very usual suspects. But we also kind of end up finding a lot of like kind of hidden gems or, or B-sides, or I didn't know that band played that song kind of songs. And I got a recommendation for now. My band just started practicing, and we're going to definitely put it in our set list. And that is Ways to Be Wicked. It is a Tom Petty written song. He wrote it for Lone Justice, which did a great version of it because